has the Rise of Skywalker damaged the reputation of Star Wars going forward? Well, it's possible, and Scott Mendelson here at Forbes.com makes a pretty good case that indeed the Rise of Skywalker could very well have damaged Star Wars beyond repair. All right, we're going to talk about that coming up. Guys, if you haven't subscribed, I am Final Death Star. This is Final Death Star's channel, so give me a thumbs up on the video, assuming you like it. Wait till the end and then give a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and join the thousands of Death Starians just like you. All right, let's get into this article. This is coming from Forbes.com. Star Wars may never recover from the damage done by Rise of Skywalker. Scott Mendelson, he's been pretty anti-Rise of Skywalker. He was a Last Jedi fan, from what I remember. So, I don't agree with him on everything, but he does make some good points here. No matter what happens to Star Wars, be it on a buzzy shows like Disney Plus or the next batch of hopefully well-liked movies, Lucasfilm and Disney will have blown the self-proclaimed ending to the Skywalker saga. Today is the 2-month anniversary of the domestic debut of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Star Wars Episode 9 debuted Thursday, December 19th. Amid mixed negative reviews and lower audience polling scores than any previous live-action theatrical Star Wars movie. In pure financial terms, it's a hit. It earned $514 million domestic and $177 million with a budget of $177 million for a grand total of $1.069 billion worldwide. To the extent that it may look disappointing, it's partially about the many Disney mega hits that ended up dwarfing Episode 9's cumes. Had it opened in 2020, it may have been this year's biggest grosser. Had it opened this year, it probably would have been a better movie. Instead, its final gross puts it on the defensive, while the artistic reception imperils the entire franchise. Lucasfilm and Disney will still have to cope with the fact that they botched the endgame to the Skywalker saga. How do you do that? How do you botch the final movie in the Skywalker saga? The final movie of all 8 previously, 9 including it, films. A storyline that has a clear beginning end throughout the first 6 movies, and you've just botched it with reckless storytelling, with characters that don't have good backgrounds, that you just flub the backgrounds on. Terrible. No matter what comes next, no matter how well the next batch of Star Wars movies and Star Wars TV shows are received by the masses, the core Phantom to Rise of Skywalker narrative will be hamstrung by a poorly received finale. Heck, as much as Rise of Skywalker repeated the mistakes of Spectre, Spider-Man 3, and Fantastic Beasts the crimes of Grindelwald, those franchises either get a chance to set things right in future installments, or, in the case of Spider-Man, represents just one variation of many told in the franchise. But as far as the theatrical Star Wars movies about the Skywalker clan is concerned, these 9 movies are it. The Rise of Skywalker badly blew the landing. I guess it is Rise of the Skywalker because Rey is not Skywalker. She just took the name. Star Wars as a brand will live long and prosper. The Mandalorian went over like gangbusters, and the first 5 Disney Star Wars films earned $5.92 billion worldwide on a combined $1.2 billion budget. Whatever drop-off it takes now that the Skywalker saga is done was inevitable from the start. The last 5 Star Wars movies weren't just new Star Wars movies. They were explicitly linked to the original Star Wars trilogy, with the 3 episodes acting as sequels to The Return of the Jedi, complete with returning cast members 3 decades after the fact. Whatever comes next, be it Knights of the Old Republic movie or what have you, is going to have to contend with being some movie that happens to be set in the Star Wars universe, but Star Wars 9 now puts that franchise on the defensive. It's crazy to think, because what movie is going to do better than the potential that this movie should have had? You're not going to have a new Star Wars movie coming out that's going to have the kind of excitement and drive to go see it in the theater as you did with these movies. Not necessarily Rise of Skywalker, but beginning with Force Awakens. You have the original 3 back. You have a continuation of the original storyline. You're not going to have that benefit with any Star Wars movies going forward. Can any Star Wars movie break, the 2 billion mark? The Force Awakens, had? I don't think so. I don't think they can. So I just see a decline in Star Wars. I mean, they could still do well, of course, but I just don't think you're going to ever have that kind of excitement again and potential, And The Rise of Skywalker certainly should have been the number 1 film. That should have blown every other Star Wars movie out of the water. It should have beat Force Awakens. You have Force Awakens, obviously, was the first time they came back after 30 years. But if they had done this right, this is the conclusion of all things. It should have blown everything out of the water. And unfortunately, it sank deep. It's no secret the production was rushed, with J.J. Abrams subbing in for Colin Trevorrow in September of 2017 with the intent of hitting a May 24th, 2019 release date. And to their credit, Disney eventually delayed the film to December 20th, 2019, giving each Star Wars episode a 2-year gap. Can you imagine if they had tried to get this movie done by May? Think of how rushed it seemed already. I mean, we had reports that they were doing reshoots up through October. If they had actually tried to get this done by May, oh my gosh. I mean, it never would have happened, but, can you imagine how much worse it would have been? Alas, the final theatrical cut has all the signs of a rushed production and behind-the-scenes melodrama in a way that wasn't obviously evident with The Force Awakens, Rogue One, and Solo. I think the behind-the-scenes stuff with Solo was pretty evident. The film we got, putting aside plot choices for a movie, was a glorified Find the Thing video game with little to no time for character interaction, human bonding, world building, exposition, or even grandiose action sequences. To be fair, some of what was due to crafting a film which featured footage from Carrie Fisher's... some of that was due to having to craft a film around Carrie Fisher's character, Leia, because she had passed away. So, unfortunately, they were kind of stuck in a writer's conundrum. But I would have just dealt with that by starting the film off with the epilogue. Instead of saying, the dead speak, maybe, General Leia has passed, or something to that extent. And then you don't have to deal with it. Everyone would have accepted that because we know Carrie Fisher had passed away. It's not like, the audience is unaware of that. You could have done that and written a different story that didn't have to sort of like fit itself in with scenes that had been reused. But, they did not do that. That was arguably a necessary evil after Fisher died in December of 2016. Fisher's death, by the way, would have led to major revamps for Colin Trevorrow's discarded Duel of the Fates screenplay, even if he had stuck around. Even with that caveat, the final product still felt damn well unfinished. What was John Boyega's Finn trying to tell Rey? Who knows? Who cares? Doesn't matter anymore. What happened between Leia, Kylo Ren, and Rey during the second act climax? Who cares? Doesn't matter. Who are the folks Kylo was slaughtering in the opening scene? Who cares? Doesn't matter. Couldn't even tell us so fast. Those were just few of the relevant plot points which were explained in post-release interviews or secondary media because the content was unclear or absent from the movie. Yeah, that scene where Kylo Ren's going through and killing all those guys and, it's like red in the background. That was Mustafar, and those were like loyalists of Vader, the cult of Vader. You didn't get that from the movie? No, of course not. No one did, because they put no time into explaining anything. I was expecting a well-made movie that occasionally made me roll my eyes in relation to how it walked back or retconned The Last Jedi. Scott Mendelson was The Last Jedi supporter, so, that's his take on it there. I was not expecting an almost objectively bad movie, one with little purpose, save for undoing the prior sequel, the retcon reveals, and delivering a finale that validated the original trilogy, Star Wars fans as the proverbial chosen ones, and lacking meat and potatoes entertainment value. At the very least, delaying the film would have likely resulted in a more coherent and disciplined narrative. That extra time would likely have ironed out at least some of the nitpicky issues, even if the broader story beats and certain choices like the near erasure of Rose Tico still would have stung. Well, again, I didn't really necessarily miss Rose in this movie, but they did totally snub her on it. Its eventual box office take wouldn't have been compared to the deluge of 1 billion grosses in 2019. Would 1.069 billion have looked better as the first or second biggest grossing movie of 2020 instead of the ninth biggest earned of the year, behind even Warner Brothers' R-rated Joker? Whatever value there was in making sure that the Star Wars 9 was included in Disney's 2019 fire sale, arguably to get these films onto Disney Plus faster and act as a grand finale if Bob Iger actually retired last year, came at a larger price. Star Wars will live beyond the middling reception of Episode 9, tempered expectations going forward, where nobody's chasing the 2.068 billion gross of Force Awakens, may make a world of difference. However, the core 9 movies arc will now be hampered by a series finale that was about as well liked as the finales to Game of Thrones and How I Met Your Mother. That was the risk with selling The Rise of Skywalker, not just as the trilogy capper for the first batch of Disney Star Wars movies, but as the grand finale to the Skywalker solo narrative. In a world where Logan, Dark Knight Rises, Harry Potter Deathly Hallows Part 2, and Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 2 ended their franchise on financial high notes, selling Rise of Skywalker as the end-all of things makes 104% commercial sense. However, Star Wars 9 thus had to be A good movie, B, satisfying trilogy capper, and a winning finale to the whole Star Wars saga. It was arguably none of those things in a way that discolored the entire nine-film episodic saga. There's no do-over. Star Wars will survive, but Skywalker's saga may not. And that's the end of the article. And it's very true. You know, I just don't see... this has tainted Star Wars to a degree. You know, not only in the reviews, but in the fandom. I mean, this trilogy broke the fandom to a significant portion. I think it's more than half and half. I think there's well over 50% of people were not happy about the Disney trilogy. So, can Star Wars be saved? Mandalorian, things like that help out. Some people, I know not all of the fandom is thrilled about it, but for the most part, people like it. But you're never going to hit those numbers again. I just don't see another Star Wars movie coming close to $2 billion. Not accounting for inflation in the future or what have you, but just on the fact that how are you going to get people as excited about some new set of storylines outside of the Skywalker saga as you can with getting the 3 original cast members after 30 years back together. At least the hope of that. We never really got that, but the hope of that. So there you have it. I think it has done irreparable damage to the franchise, and that is just beyond terrible and saddened, but here we are. So let me know what you guys think. Is there a way to save Star Wars? Not save it so much as bring it back to the glory that it should have and could have been, at least 2015, when we were getting ready for Force Awakens to come out. That kind of excitement and glory. If you think so, let me know how, because I just don't see it. All right, guys, thanks for watching the video. Give it a thumbs up, and do subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Until next time, lock the doors and hope they don't have blasters.